You're listening to Health Professional Radio. My name is Wayne Buckler. Today I'm joined by Nehemiah Richardson, the General Manager of NAB Health. And Nehemiah joins me today from Western Australia. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Nehemiah.
Yep, thank you very much, Wayne. It's great to be here.
Nehemiah, we've previously spoken about your vision for the potential to export Australian health services. I know that you have a story. Can you illustrate that for our listeners?
Yes, and can I tell you, can I give you one quick story on that one that I saw the other day? There was a person, and I apologize, I don't remember his name, but you can certainly Google it. There's a person who was a radiologist who was part of the IMED group.
Yes.
I think he's based in South Australia. I saw this in the newspaper, say, maybe the last 2 months. And he provides, radiology services to the NHS overnight. Because during our daytime, we have people available. During their nighttime or during holidays where you don't always get a radiologist who wants to work those hours, they had some limitations, as I understand it. So hopefully 80-20, this is correct, okay? So for those listening, please go and Google it to get the real facts. But what I thought was phenomenal was how he's created a business model that helps support, emergency room X-ray readings or, what a radiologist would do, providing those services remotely during times where capacity is limited, which made me think, when you then think about Uber or Airbnb or any of these, or in this market, something called Airtasker, where you can go online and you can find someone to do odd jobs for you. Well, digital technology completely changes what's possible, and I love that story about this really innovative thing from this person at IMED who's built this now international business, or at least one that services the UK, right? And you take it one step further. Imagine if, there weren't enough radiology places, in central Perth. Well, you know what? If I was enterprising enough, I could get together some of the radiologists who are finding trouble getting places and actually give them really practical experience by providing expertise in a supervised environment, help train people up, et cetera, et cetera. So when you start to think about this, it creates so much opportunity for us to think laterally and to think opportunistically about how we as a country can deliver things, in ways that others aren't at the moment.
Do you have a view, Nehemiah, about what will drive adoption of the change? Because the health sector's, notoriously resistant to change in lots of ways. What do you think will drive it to happen?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. I mean, certainly from where we sit as an organization, there's things that we are actively looking at. Enablement tools, for instance, that can help enable consumers to better understand where their health spend is going, right? And so when I gave the example of 6 GPs in Central Perth and what might it cost me, leveraging some of the information that we have, and when I say we have, I mean on a de-identified basis.
Yes.
Okay. But presenting information to people on their digital devices that will give them the sort of context around, how much might I have to pay for something I'm about to do, because we have a high caps claiming engine, we understand what that might cost, and we understand, what the MBS schedule looks like, et cetera. So you can digitize that or turn that into applications that allow consumers to see what they're gonna be out of pocket for, as an example. So we think about what are enablement tools that we can provide based on our expertise and capability that can help empower people, and just that, right, and driving different consumer behavior can actually help create the demand that then creates change. The other thing that we do is, because we cover the entire continuum of care and we have scale as a business across every modality in health in every region of the country, that provides us with real capacity to work with and connect our customers in ways that help to facilitate collaboration and change. And on top of that, we actively build relationships with all of the key industry bodies, as well as, Commonwealth and state government, because it allows us to, as an enabler, as a financial services provider, we're an enabler to the system, right? And as an enabler to the system, you get a level of, we're not experts at everything, but we actually know enough to be able to have constructive conversations to support the objectives of industry bodies, support the objective of our customers, support the objectives or the policy objectives that, state and federal governments may have in health. provide some advice, but in particular connect people up in a way that others can't. So we know if someone over here is thinking about this and someone over there is thinking about that, well, let's connect the two of them, and we might be able to be part of that conversation, and we'll go and experiment in Central Perth on something that might create a framework for fundamentally shifting how we might think about, dealing with, some chronic disease that is costing the system a lot of money, but most importantly, the individual suffering from that chronic disease who don't have capacity to get that treated properly, we might be able to help them to feel better, and we can pull people together to do that. So when I look at it, we are actively doing things to try to connect people around the system, to try to create some more visibility around some of the economics, and to try to get coalitions of interest to go and test and innovate around things that might provide a framework or repeatable model that you can then extend across the system. And then all of a sudden what people thought was not possible, they can see it is possible. And once people see that it is possible, what I've always seen is, is people are quite happy to change because they can now see that it's possible, if that makes sense.
It does indeed.
And one thing that's interesting when you work at a big company, right? Central decisions at a company can be implemented at the furthest part of the company. So think about NAB. Our board or our executive leadership can make a decision. That means people have to change what they do. And it's our people in our branches or our frontline salespeople or relationship people who probably are most impacted by those changes, right? But we as an organization, because we have infrastructure, we can support our people through change. The health industry is a big industry that has to go through change with a lot of individual operators who don't have the capacity to manage change like we do as a company. So we see ourselves as playing a role in helping to support our customers to change, showing what is possible, trying to connect them with people who might help them with their businesses, as well as providing advice and data that might help them run their businesses better. And the reason why we actually spend time talking to industry bodies and Commonwealth and state and private health insurers and all of our customers is to try to be a facilitator of that change. Now, we're not going to be the only ones who can do it, and we can't do it alone, clearly, but we are in a position, I think a unique position, to be able to create some of the catalyst. So we don't keep talking about the same thing in health for the next 30 years. We're actually actively doing things to show what's possible and then extend and execute as opposed to talk. Does that make sense?
It does. I've been in discussion with Nehemiah Richardson, the General Manager of NAB Health, who's been giving what is to me a revolutionary perspective on the possibility of change in the health industry. Now, I should say NAB Health is a banking service, if you haven't heard the first part of our interview, dedicated to the health vertical, and Nehemiah as a professional in that has a perspective on the future of the health paradigm and the health industry that is unique and engaging. And I have to say, Nehemiah, thank you for sharing that with me. It's been, as I say, eye-opening. What's the biggest misconception that drives you nuts and keeps you awake in this industry?
Look, I'm not sure I can define it as a misconception, but let's call it a bugbear, okay?
Yep.
And there's going to be two things. One's a big bugbear, and then one's the thing that really keeps me awake at night. They're two different things. The bugbear is when people tell me things are not possible.
Yes.
Okay? You can't do that. Not possible. Privacy doesn't allow you to do that, or doctors don't do this, or we aren't going to, it drives me nuts because, and it drives me nuts because, you can always see the art of the possible. And so it drives me nuts because you don't want the resistance to change. But I do understand that, if you can't see what's possible, of course you're going to say that, right? It's human nature. So then I think, well, what is it that we can do so that we can show the art of the possible so that we can get rid of the resistance? So the bugbear is people saying nothing's possible when, anything's possible. So then that goes to what can we do to make it possible? And then the thing that keeps me awake at night, what keeps me awake at night is that we don't change, that we are here in 10 years' time talking about the same thing. Because one thing I've learned in being in this industry is, most would say the conversations that are actually being had, around the need for change or sustainability, the rising costs, the aging population, the diminishing workforce, et cetera, are the same things that have been talked about for, who knows how long, 20 years, 30 years. And, what keeps me awake at night, because my children are born here. I'm an American who is married to an Australian, and I live in Melbourne, and I will be here the rest of my life. And, what keeps me awake at night is that my children are going to be in an environment where nothing has changed, where, their access to affordable health care, which is a pillar of, one of the pillars of a productive society. Once again, whilst it might keep me awake at night, it's not something that I'm going to sit here as an individual about working at large organizations, is the capacity to actually affect change and be part of leading change and supporting change. As a financial services company, what's great is financial services are a pillar of a productive economy. You need intermediation. You need to be able to raise funds. You need to be able to take risk on funds in order to help support businesses to grow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, financial services is a critical pillar, health is a critical pillar, education is a critical pillar. Take some of that anxiety and I can put that into energy that can actually help to create the right conversations. And I've got 300 people who love the health industry, who are passionate about supporting our customers and passionate about this industry and the great outcomes that, supporting health actually creates, because it keeps all of us healthy if we support our customers to do so. Well, we can actually change these things. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but we want to be part of, supporting and enabling, more efficiency in the system, better health outcomes for people, right, and better long-term sustainable policy decisions that create an environment for this industry to be very productive and become not something that is a cost tsunami, but something people want to spend even more money in because of the value it can generate for our economy. Right, because we have more productive people who are healthier for longer, who can do more things and have great lives. That's what I think is, whilst it keeps me awake at night, what keeps me going is the fact that all of that is possible and the contribution that can be made both as a person but also, as an institution.
Nehemiah Richardson, General Manager with NAB Health. The art of the possible is something that obviously occupies a lot of your time, and it's a pleasure to discuss with you. And it's a pleasure to discuss with you what you see happening in the health vertical. Your passion is clear and evident, and I'm sure we'll have lots of listeners very eager to get in touch and engage with NAB Health. How is the best way they do that? Is it a website?
Yes, you can go to the nab.com.au website and just search health, and our landing page will come up, our health view and our health insights will come up, and contact details, for the key leaders in our business, including myself, are there. So you'll see our email addresses as well as our phone numbers, depending on what geographic location you're in, and we're more than happy, to take your call and to do what we can to support people across the healthcare industry.
Well, today we might have managed to spread a little bit of the word about NAB Health and NAB Health, and I certainly can see many of our listeners having an acute interest in your vision for the world. Thank you for your time today. If you've just joined us on Health Professional Radio, then you've just missed a very fascinating conversation with Nehemiah Richardson, General Manager of NAB Health. But the good news is we have a transcript on our website. You can also hear the original audio on YouTube and on SoundCloud. This is Wayne Buckler for Health Professional Radio.